I still remember that fateful September 2014 like it was yesterday. It was a cool morning and autumn was in the air. As a police officer in a quiet Utah town, I've seen my share of disturbing cases, but I couldn't have prepared myself for what awaited me at the Strack residence. I arrived at the site to find yellow caution tape around the property, an eerie contrast to the picturesque backdrop of the surrounding area. The house stood still, as if holding its breath, as if aware of the horror unfolding within its walls. The enormity of the tragedy became clear when I entered the house. As I stepped over the threshold, a chill enveloped me, as if the air was whispering unspeakable secrets. The scene before him was nothing short of a nightmare. The dead bodies of the Strack family are scattered around the house, their lives cruelly cut short. The weight of the tragedy hangs heavy in the air and weighs on my heart. In a state of disbelief, I surveyed the scene. John and Christy Strack's parents lay lifeless in the bedroom, their eyes forever frozen in terror. The bodies of 3 young people were found in separate rooms, with confusion and fear written on their innocent faces. The youngest, a small child, was spared this tragic fate, perhaps by mercy or a twist of fate. As we sifted through the evidence, our search led us to a small notebook whose pages were tattered and filled with haunting revelations. In the notebook was a hastily scribbled to-do list, a list that only deepened the mystery. The family seemed to be preparing for a celebration, with mundane tasks, such as feed the pets and find someone to look after the house, peeled off as they left. We have more questions than answers. There is no suicide note. There is no indication that such a tragedy would befall this seemingly ordinary family. It is inexplicable. How could 2 parents responsible for their children's well-being commit such an unthinkable act? Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, and the case remained a mystery. Rumors have spread in the community and created a picture of a broken, troubled family. But without hard evidence or clear motives, the truth remains elusive. It was only in January, a year after the tragedy, that new, frightening details came to light, casting an even darker shadow on the story of the Strack family. Driven by an unwavering desire to uncover the truth, the police uncover a little-known side of the Strack family. It shows, according to the family's description and careful investigation, that the parents are deeply convinced that the end of the world is coming and that the world is full of evil. They seek refuge in the arms of convicted murderer Dan Lafferty, infamous for the brutal murders of his sister-in-law and her young daughter. The letters between Christy Strack and Dan Lafferty reveal their quirky relationship and reveal a bond that makes us shudder. It is beyond comprehension how a mother of 4 could get involved in such darkness and visit this cold-blooded killer in prison. Delving into the case, I couldn't help but wonder what events led them down this path of destruction. How did their belief in impending doom and obsession with a killer lead to such unimaginable consequences? The answers elude us, hidden beneath layers of mystery and unspeakable fear. Our small community was rocked by the revelations that the Strack family was connected to convicted murderer Dan Lafferty. It was as if a veil had been lifted, revealing the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of our quiet city. As an officer tasked with uncovering the truth, I delved into the tangled web of their lives. Correspondence between Christy Strack and Dan Lafferty paints a disturbing picture. Christie seems drawn to the story of Rafferty, whose violence was committed under the guise of religious revelation. She shared with him her fears, her conviction of the approaching apocalypse and the evil that had infiltrated the world. Interviewing friends and family, a harrowing story begins to take shape. Seemingly driven by apocalyptic fears and an obsession with Rafferty's twisted ideology, Strack's parents succumbed to delusions. They believed that by taking the lives of themselves and their children, they would be spared the horrors that awaited them in the world. But why would seemingly loving parents, with no prior signs of distress or instability, be swayed by such extreme views? The answer lies deep within them, in a fusion of fear, paranoia, and manipulation. Perhaps it is Rafferty who exploits their vulnerability and robs them of the opportunity to find meaning and protection in a world they see as hopeless. The investigation into the tragic end of the Strake family turns into a race against time. We combed through their personal belongings for evidence that might reveal their descent into darkness. Newspaper clippings, religious texts, and scribbled notes reveal a mind plagued by paranoia and growing obsession. Our search for the truth leads us to Rafferty's thriving society, a sect that twists religious teachings to justify abhorrent behavior. We discovered a network of like-minded people who had fallen victim to their own twisted beliefs. Each thread we unravel brings us closer to understanding the unfathomable. Clearly, Strack's parents have fallen victim to the manipulative influence of a convicted murderer whose ideology is woven into their everyday lives. They have become willing participants in the doomsday narrative, sacrificing their children to avoid the coming horrors. But even as the pieces of the puzzle begin to fit together, the problem remains. What makes Christie and John Streck seek solace in Rafferty's words? How do they get caught up in the web of delusion and fear and abandon the role of parents? The search for answers is a harrowing journey that tests our resolve as investigators. We peeled back the layers of deception and talked to those who are crazy about us at Strack's. Their words haunt us and force us to confront the darkest corners of the human psyche. As the investigation draws to a close, we piece together the fragmented narrative to reveal a tragic tapestry. Driven by fear and manipulated by a convicted murderer, the Strack family fall prey to their own delusions. The world they're trying to escape, a world teetering on the brink of an apocalyptic nightmare, eats at them in different ways and leaves unanswered questions. The case of the Stracku family is a chilling reminder of how low the human mind can fall, how fragile our beliefs are, and the possibilities of manipulation that lurk in the shadows of society. It has left scars on our society, scars that will never fully heal, and a constant reminder of the unimaginable horrors that have been in our midst. Reflecting on a dark chapter in our small town's history reminds me of the delicate balance between faith and fanaticism, hope and despair. The tragedy of the Strack family remains etched in our collective memory as a haunting cautionary tale of how easily the human spirit can be twisted and broken